If you can't go left, you can always try right. If you can't go right, you can always try forward. But no matter what you do, we'll always create a memory because you are special.
Hello, and welcome to RBV, the Milestone Whisperers, where we discuss milestones and the journeys to get to them. My name is Dr. Rashida. I'm your host today, and I have a special guest today, Meredith Kelly. Hi, Meredith. How are you doing today?
Rashida, I'm doing great. I'm really happy to be chatting with you. You just made my
Yes,
day.
yes. So today we're going to be discussing something that everyone deals with one way or another in life, grief. And it's a really interesting topic because as women, it, like you said, you mentioned that we carry it a lot harder, a lot heavier, a lot of times. So I'm really excited to hear about your journey and about how you have dealt with your grief in life, with things that you've dealt with. So let's
Yeah.
go ahead and take it away.
All right. Well, it is a very special season in someone's life when we go through things that we could not have imagined ever happening. And in my experience, I'll tell you a little bit of background about me first. We have a similar role in life. I'm a massage therapist. I have been a massage therapist since I was 19 years old. And
Ah.
it does kind of take a toll on the body. So about 15 years ago, I switched into more of a coaching and facilitation role where I could speak with people and kind of help
Mm-hmm.
have little chats. I have a really great superpower of helping track people's energy, especially because I had so much experience hands on the body. And I'm very intuitive that I can kind of tell when someone's holding on to something and maybe they need to express it and help get that out of the body. So I've studied somato emotional release, and I learned that through my mentor, who is also a physical therapist who studied cranial sacral therapy. And if you
Oh,
haven't experienced
cool.
that, anybody who's listening, or even you, Rashida,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
need to experience it because it allows you to just deeply relax and kind of unwind the physical body in a way where it helps you kind of remember certain traumas that you stuff down and you don't necessarily
Mm-hmm.
want in your everyday mind, right? These
Yeah.
minds are so resilient. We love to push things that are heavy away, right? We try to get them out of there.
Yes.
And our body, has to deal with that. So I'm sure,
Mm-hmm.
as you know, with chronic pain, a lot of it is unexplainable. And I feel like it's
Yeah.
grief talking. It's grief talking.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I agree with that. So just a quick thing. I've spoken about the loss of my father in other episodes, like
Mm,
earlier episodes.
okay.
And I lost my father when I was 18. And all through middle school and high school, I used to journal. And I still have my journal. And I guess when he got sick when I was a senior, I stopped journaling. And I did not journal again until maybe 2 years ago. And I'm 40, I just turned 47 on Wednesday. And I don't know, maybe I was scared to like let go of that grief, but I didn't journal. I didn't write anything about like school, graduating college, graduating PT school, getting married, having kids, and all that. Like all of that, I didn't express. And I think that blockage came from that grief initially with losing my father, that I didn't write down anything. And my Facebook used to be an open book though, because I used to post everything on Facebook. Like I would say, okay, good morning. I'm having this for breakfast. Good morning. But it was never deep like my journaling used to be.
Mm.
And then a couple years ago when I was in therapy, he suggested that I start journaling again. So I'm not journaling as often as I used to, but it was such a great release of like, I'm back home to how it, got things out and how I express things. So grief
Yeah,
is something and it's
I
heavy.
find that interesting. I wonder if that creative side of you, how they talk about writer's block or creativity blocks,
Mm-hmm.
be that your grief kind of filled that mold, right? It filled the space where you actually had that art of flow kind of just coming out of you. And with grief, sometimes, we have to do a full stop, at least
Yeah.
that was my experience.
Yeah.
So I lost both my parents in 2022, really close together, about 44, 45 days apart. And I'm coming up on the 4 years this September. September 1st is when I lost my mom, and my dad was literally 44, 45 days just before that.
Oh
And
wow, I'm so
so,
sorry to hear that.
yeah, and I'm sorry to hear about your dad too. It's something that we can't ever, the loss of a parent is something that we can't ever expect to know what that's going to feel like or how to process it. It's something that you have to live through, and it's different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so for me, I had a lot of momentum in my world, and I just had to stop because it was just too much all at once.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're like us and you're a giver, so much of your life is devoted to giving to other people, it's really hard when it's time for you to look at, hey, what do I need? What do I
Yeah.
need? And it was, for me, like I had a house fire in I was early 20s. It was the first time I lived on my own. And I had this crazy electrical fire happen, and I lost two animals in that fire. That was a big one, but it
Yeah.
still didn't bring me to my knees in the way that losing my parents did. And I wasn't expecting it. And I think it was because I was taking life for granted in that way. I still have my
Mm-hmm.
grandmother. So my mom's mother is still alive. And I think I thought that just longevity was in our genes and that I would have them into their hundreds, and that
Mm-hmm.
this was just the way it was going to be. And for me, it was like really hard because I had unfinished business with both my parents. Like it was just getting good with my mom and my dad.
Mm-hmm.
I was always like, I'm gonna work on that relationship. It's one of those things that I was like, eventually I'll get there and work on that.
Mm-hmm.
So when
Mm-hmm.
that's taken away, it's just a really difficult time. But what happened for me was I never had a community around grieving. I didn't know that there was a proper way or a right way. I know there isn't really a right way to do it. There's not a wrong way either. So
Yeah.
wherever you are in your process, it's okay. And all is
Mm-hmm.
well, at least in my book. But what helped me so much was a friend invited me into something called a grief healing village. And I'm the weird one. I love all things spiritual. I love all things that kind of get you out of the box. I like crystals and all kinds of things that are natural.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Mm-hmm.
was something that was like I was so drawn to that. And through that process, we got to work with the body and follow this teaching of Francis Weller, who has a book that I highly recommend. It's
Mm-hmm.
called The Wild Edge of Sorrow. And it talks about the 5 gates of grief, gateways, instead of like
Mm-hmm.
the stages of grief that we're taught that
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you're in regret or you're in like anger or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
I think all of that is valid. All of that is valid. But this perspective really shifted the way that I was able to understand grief and realize that it's not something that you ever get past. It's just something that you have to build a capacity for because it's going to keep coming. And we are just
Mm-hmm.
one of the first things it tells you in that book is that every single thing that you love in life, you are going to lose. And so
Yeah.
when you really grapple with that, it's amazing that we as humans continue to love anyway, isn't it?
Yeah. It really is because it's like how much heartache can I take? So but you do open yourself up more. Eventually, hopefully, people do.
Sometimes it takes a village to
Mm-hmm.
help you get into a place where you can actually feel seen. One of the pieces in the chapters of that book was I can remember the sensation of just not feeling welcome, not feeling welcome. And it's not because people didn't like me. It was just because I didn't, I wasn't welcoming myself into different
Yeah.
places and spaces. It was almost like I was so disconnected from what I used to love, what used to light me up, that I was just not feeling that energy of being welcome just to life in general. And it speaks to
Yeah.
that so beautifully. It just speaks to what that is and what's really happening inside and how we can really just be a witness to it. Because if we can just, without any attachment, be present with our process, and it's so different
Mhm.
from everybody else's. But if you think about it, like what comes up for you when somebody you love goes through a loss? Do you sometimes feel like, I don't know what to say, and I don't know
Mhm.
if I'm going to do the right thing? And I'm sure you went through
Mhm.
that with your people around you when your dad died when you were 18,
Yeah. Yeah.
because that was such a tender age for you, and you probably your
Mhm.
peers hadn't been through that yet.
Yeah.
So it's such a question of like, how do I show up for somebody when they're grieving? And truly, there isn't anything that anybody can say or do, as you know, that's going to make you feel better. Doesn't matter how
Right.
much they love you or how much you love them. If you're not
Mhm.
feeling that welcome energy to life, like you're just shut down to any small little kindness. And the book breaks down that, like, this is where ritual comes in. And different cultures all across the world have a very profound ritual when it comes to death and dying. And not
Yeah.
only that, like, death and dying isn't necessarily the only grief that we're going to go through.
So
It's
true.
just one of the
Mhm.
gateways, as
Mhm.
Weller describes it in his book. And it's the first one is, I would love to go through them if
Yes. Yes. Please.
okay. So the
Mhm.
first one I already mentioned, which is everything we love, we are eventually
Mhm.
going to lose, right? So
Mhm.
it's the one that we most readily recognize with death. Separation, ending, losing people, losing animals, losing a home, losing a
Mhm.
relationship, anything that you're identified with, when that goes
Yeah.
away, it's a season of that's something you loved is now gone. And
Mhm.
and you're just so vulnerable to that, because there's
Yeah.
every death is different, every loss is different.
Mhm.
We are going
Mhm.
to have a completely different response each time. And there's a certain way that you can help yourself or somebody that like grieve that, and it's really just being present with them and witnessing them, being with them in that process.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can comment on that, or I'll move into the
Yeah.
next one.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
I like that you even mentioned that it doesn't have to be death, because like we lose friends, some friendships or relationships, or I've lost a pet as well, and it was devastating. Every loss can be so devastating. And so I really do want to read this book as well, to get that perspective and to understand a little bit about the different types of grief. So yeah.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And it's great. I know you're a mama, so it's really
Mhm.
good to bring the kids into this, because we want to educate them as much as we can, because this is just a natural part of life and being human. And we want them
Mhm.
to have open hearts and love as much as they can, right? So
Yes.
it's a wonderful thing when they have a heads up that there is going to be a time when you lose something that you love, and maybe just keep it to one thing, right? Like,
Yes.
we don't have to tell them
Doesn't
that
have to be a
everything they
lot.
love
Yeah.
is gonna go, because that might be a bit much for a little
Mhm.
heart to handle. But
Yeah.
just having little talks like that is so wonderful and called for, I think.
Yeah.
The
Well,
second,
I'm a
go ahead,
hmm,
go ahead.
I'm a PT, and I
Yes.
work with little babies, primarily, even though I do work with adults sometimes. I've had patients pass away, which has been tough because I am a mom, and I do like get attached to these kids, even though, you know, as a clinician, you're not supposed to. And
How
it's
can
like,
you not?
How can you not? Like, I'm in here, I'm helping these people. So, I've dealt with that. But on another note, my older son plays football. He loves football. And he was injured last week and had an MRI on Thursday and found out that his injury isn't career ending, even though, you know, he's in high school. But he is going to be out of football for at least 9 months. And that was devastating for him.
There you go.
So this grief talk is something that I'm glad you brought it up, like helping our little ones. You know, he's not little, he's way bigger than me, but he's my baby. He's my oldest.
You're a tiny thing.
Baby. Yes. And it's just like, I know, like, as a mom, I want to protect them and all that, but as a PT, I just know that the road is long for him. But that was like the one thing that I knew, that when my husband and I told him that he had to have surgery and he would be out, is the grieving process.
And thinking about that identity, so much of his identity is in that sport, in that relationship, the relationships he has through that. So it is a huge loss, and it's so beautiful that you're not going to minimize that for him. Let him fully feel that.
Yes. And I just told him, I'm like, if I'm being too hovering over you, you know, and you need some space, let me know if you want me to come in there and talk to you. But he's already researching the injury, and he's going to learn to love the game even more, because he's going to take the time out to figure out how not to get injured again, but also like the art of football and like studying football and his opponents and everything. So we're hopeful for his.
You're kind of making the lemonade, right?
Yes. And this is even before surgery. We don't know when the surgery is going to be, but that was
is it his
tough.
arm?
It's his knee.
Oh, his knee.
Yeah. So he tore his ACL and his LCL and his MCL, and a nerve is damaged. So he has to have surgery, because when they told me ACL, I was like, no. But he's going to get through it. We're going to get through it. Though.
It's a vital part of our body, right? We really need that.
Yes.
Okay, great. So the second gate, which I think children, little ones, really go through this a lot. And us as adults looking back, we carry a lot of grief of the second gate, and we didn't even know it. So how to express it is, it's called the places that have not known love. And the way that we discuss that is, anytime you felt rejected, anytime you felt like you had shame, anytime you were neglected, right? I mean, that can be in various levels. Some people are severely neglected. Others, it could be that maybe their mom didn't want to pay attention to them because she was cooking dinner and they wanted to show her something they drew. And she said, oh no, honey, not right now. And they took that as like, oh my God, mom hates me. She doesn't want to look at my art. And they took it on as neglect, even though it really wasn't, right? She was trying to give us dinner. But you know, little ones, they don't have that reference. They can feel so abandoned, right? Yes. So that's the second gate, is the places that have not known love. And it's an interesting one to journal about, since you brought up journaling. And I'm sure your therapist would love to know that you would go down that road, because it's such a great way for us to look in retrospect at ourselves and the different phases of our life, right? Because we have different times where that's happening, and we just don't even notice it. We kind of brush it off and kind of move on. But the body really is tracking all of that stuff, right? So that's the second gate. Very interesting there.
That is.
The third gate is what's happening, the sorrows of the world. It's our grief with what's happening around us, like with domestic abuse, violence, war, destruction on any level, suffering that is outside of us that we witness. It could be injustice. It could be anything that's cruel that's happening in the world.
Mhm.
And we're just, we're too sensitive to hold all of that. So we don't know what to do with that grief, right?
Yeah. And we see it all the time just on your social media feed. I don't know, like a lot of posts that I see aren't even my friends posting stuff. It's just like random heaviness. Sometimes I'm just like, enough. Because like
Right.
you feel it and you just empathize with people. So that's definitely real.
It's so real. And we call it now, it's like we are fatigued with how much empathy we have to give because there's
Mhm.
so much going on and we don't have a proper way to process it all. And it's just
Yeah.
too much information. TMI, right? It's just like
Yes.
we're
Yes.
not built, our brains are not built to process this much sorrow. So the third gate, I think, is wide open for all of us who are
Yeah.
paying attention, at least if we're paying attention to what's happening on this planet, we are really grieving in that space, in that
Yeah.
gate right now.
Yeah.
And then the fourth one is things that we expected to receive and we didn't. So it's that expectation,
Mm.
right? So it should have been there, but it wasn't.
Mhm.
And so we're mourning that absence of something, not showing up that we just thought was a given. We thought that naturally that was going to happen and it didn't. I don't know if you have any thoughts around that, but it could be dreams that you had that never came to pass, right? Something that you thought was that you were growing into and it just never came to be. It's like an opportunity. It could be, somebody you thought you were going to get some recognition for doing some
Mhm.
achievement and it just never,
Mhm.
and you're just still waiting like,
Yeah. Like, oh well, I guess
that's
pass me
grief.
by. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think my mom suffers with that because she never learned how to drive. Yeah, and she's going to be 66 this year. But when my dad was alive, he drove her everywhere. And then, once he passed away, I learned how to drive, and then I drove her everywhere. And like now, she's like, if I had just learned how to drive. She had a permit like 3 different times. She even went as far as like took driver's lessons and just never got that license. And now she's like about to be 66 and she has this fear of driving now. So it's like
Right.
I think
Right.
she does grieve that thing, and it's really important for her because for her grandchildren, she's like every grandchild has to learn how to drive. I don't care; they need to go to college and learn how to drive
I
because
love it. She's like
it's a
paying
sense
it
of
forward.
independence. Mm-hmm.
She's like,
It's
don't
like
be like me. You're gonna figure
yes,
it out.
yes. But yeah, but even just like you said, like things maybe have let you down or something that never like recognition of things that you never received is definitely something that I've dealt with. And how does this book describe like getting through these things?
Yeah, so it's all about creating a way to know that you're never, this is just about building your capacity. So when we
Mhm.
are aware that these are different gateways that we're walking through, it just gives us that feeling of belonging, that feeling of welcoming.
Mhm.
It's the whole point of the book is to give you a way to come back home to yourself. Because
Yeah.
there's a chance that if you're reading that book, that there are parts of your grief that you haven't even acknowledged yet. And that
Mhm.
grief isn't just a one-time thing that you're going to get through after you have mourned properly. It's something that's going to keep coming up in little ways, sometimes big ways. But if you
Mhm.
can build your capacity and your muscle, not that that you're going to be living your life expecting, so that that something bad is going to happen. It's not about that. It's more about expecting that whatever happens, I know that I can get through this because I'm building a capacity to not only
Mhm.
see things that I never saw before in my own life, but also holding that space for others so that you can be a safe space for someone, even a child that is depending on
Mhm.
you or a loved one, a partner, to just come to you and just without judgment, holding space for them. It really teaches you that this is how to be a good human is to acknowledge grief and
Yeah.
There's so many times when especially men are told, never cry, hold it in, you have to
Mhm.
be macho.
Mhm.
And that
Mhm.
narrative is really hurting our men. They really need to be able
It
to
is.
cry and not
Mhm.
be seen as weak because of that. So it's just this
Yes.
beautiful invitation into living life that is okay with grief and not shunning it down.
Mhm.
And the fifth one is about ancestral grief. So the grief that's been passed down through the family lineages. So in your culture, in your history, and he explores the losses and wounds around that are they're preceding us because we have no idea, but somehow, some way, we are carrying that grief because it wasn't processed through the people who came before us. That's,
Yeah.
that's a deep one.
That's a deep one. Is
Yeah.
I think I've seen like a I don't know if it's a reel or a picture, but I see it like something about like is a dirty glass of water, and then like the
Yeah.
grandma pours that same glass of water into the daughters, and then like it doesn't get clean until like 4 or 5 generations later.
It takes a
Yeah,
while
and
to
that's
clean
that's
that dirt.
yeah, that's what it sounds like to me. It's like because you're just carrying it and passing it down. And that's
Absolutely.
tough because like some things you can't avoid, just certain things about your culture you can't avoid, but
Absolutely.
but having those tools to those the equipment to deal with it and to,
Yes. Yeah.
accept certain
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. And being aware of it and knowing that, hey, this isn't mine, but it does, you can relate to it in a way where you're like, okay, I don't have to hold this all up myself.
Mhm.
I can weep. I can journal. I can talk about it. I can do a
Mhm.
ritual where a ritual is just something where you're using your imagination and you're kind of
Mhm.
creating a way to, kids do it all the time, but it's like an adult version of make believe, right? Where
Yeah.
we're allowing our brain to just get beyond it because we just get so, like I said, for me, it was like a full stop for a while where I
Mhm.
couldn't get into the life because I wasn't who I used to be anymore. And it was hard
Mhm.
for me to acknowledge that and accept that. That's really, that's what it really helped me do on a very personal level.
Yeah, the acknowledgement part of it and just giving ourselves grace is important to take the time, because a lot of times you life does go on and you're like, okay, I gotta get back to work, or I gotta get moving, I gotta do things, but still allowing those moments to sit in that grief and just not suppress it. I think
Yeah.
it's something that we have to learn how to do.
Yes. Yes. And I'm so happy that you are already aware of that and so tuned in for your kids and for your
Yeah.
mom, that it's so beautiful. You're like the bridge between these two generations and
Hmm.
you're gonna have to help them both, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And eventually, and your mom already did that for you, and your kids are going to do that for you eventually as well. So it's such an interesting time, these lifetimes that we're in.
I agree. I like integrating the different generations. I don't have any of my grandparents anymore. So I am, and my husband and I both lost our fathers.
Hmm.
So like I really cling to my mom and my mother-in-law, and to have
Good.
them have a strong relationship with my children. Sometimes, just to be honest, I do get a little sad that one day they're not going to have their grandparents. I mean, I don't know when our time is up.
Never.
Hopefully
Yeah.
it is, a long time from now, and then a long time for me, and then, but
Yes. That's the goal.
they're
Why we
they're not.
practice PT,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes. Because like with my one grandparent, my grandmother, I was 3 when she passed away, and I have vague memories of her. Um, but I never met my grandfather, or my maternal grandfather, because she was young when he passed away. But just I like to capture these memories with them, but I know that one day it's going to hurt because they're going to have these memories. You know what I mean?
I
So I
do.
think like that book is exactly what I'm feeling like. Oh, I have to train my kids, teach my kids that it's part of life, loss, but that doesn't mean that you just shut down these relationships and having that love in your heart, because
Absolutely.
it makes us who we are.
It absolutely does. And having faith in a higher power is also very helpful to keep us engaged in life when things get really hard. And
Mm-hmm.
so obviously, going there with your kids is really good too. And keeping their little hearts open, because we need more people who can freely love and not be scared and wall themselves off because they don't want to be hurt. We have the capacity to be hurt and get through it. And that's really what the message is everybody hurts. It's kind of like that song, Everybody Hurts, like it's so true, right?
Yeah, everyone does in one way or another. Yeah.
Absolutely. We can't get out of this life without going through multiple losses. And that's the good news, right? Because it means that we loved along the way.
Right. That's so true, because it's better. What's the saying? It's better to have loved and lost than never have loved at all.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I do pity the people that they have no idea about love and just caring about people and all the things. So I'm hoping that I'm going to read the book, but I'm hoping that I can share it with my family members and my audience. Can you say the title of the book again?
Yep, it's called The Wild Edge of Sorrow by Francis Weller. Yeah.
Yes, so I'm looking for it. Is it an easy read?
It is. It gets you thinking, and I can't say that you might not cry when certain parts get brought up, but that's the good news, right? Is that it's helping you kind of realize how vulnerable you are as a human.
Yeah.
And that you're not alone. You're really not alone in your grief, which so many people do isolate. It really helps you reconnect and see your pattern. Do you have a pattern of disconnecting when something goes wrong? And what if you could change all of that? That's what I do in my coaching work with people now, is really, I love working with people who are in grief, as I help them really plug back in and get resourced so that the next time something comes along, because it probably will, they are ready for it in a way where they just feel like, oh, okay, I have resources now. I'm not alone.
Yeah, I did want to ask about your coaching. So so do you primarily work with women, or?
I do work with both men and women. My language is centering around women because I don't think that happens enough.
Right.
So, and I love, I have the feminine experience. I'm 49 now, so going through the changes of being a woman, I'm very familiar with, and I'm not through my journey. I'm still in that part. So it's very comforting for women to have each other. I think sisterhood is so important.
I think that's important too. I love the term sisterhood because we need to have more of that.
Yes,
we really do, because it's like sometimes you do feel alone, and you're just like, well, no one understands, or I'm crazy and I'm not going to tell people what I'm going through because you will be misunderstood or just be, shooed away.
Right. And sometimes people are the opposite. They're afraid to tell someone because they think that they're going to be looked at like, oh, you just want my attention. You just want attention, or you want our pity. And it's like so they won't share because they're afraid that other people are going to think that about them. So, it's in some spaces, people are mean like that, where they just, again, that's a capacity thing. I don't see it as like they're really trying to be mean. They just don't have the space for it because nobody allowed them the space to go there, right? So they don't know how. hold that space. And so that's where that conversation is so important with our sisters to be like, hey, if something's ever going on for me, just, give them, just sit in the room next to me and put your hand on my knee, and that's all I need, right? To
Yep,
know I'm
that's all
not
you need
alone.
sometimes.
It could just be the simplest thing. And sometimes we have to teach each other how to speak our love language sometimes, right? Because
Yes. That
it's
is
not
so
apparent.
true.
It's not something that we talk about on a regular basis, and I want to change that. So that's what I do with my coaching work is every woman that comes to me through my coaching, I tell her she is now in my sistership. It's almost like, you hear about the mothership. Well, I have a
Yes.
sistership.
Yes. I love it. Yes. And that way you feel like you have somewhere to go and you don't feel alone. So I
That's
think that's
right.
important.
That's
Yeah.
yeah.
So how can people find you?
Well, my website is my name, meredithkelly.com, and it's spelled meredithkelly.com.
Hmm.
And I do a lot of virtual work. People who are in person here in Asheville can come and see me in person as well. But I
Yeah.
love doing group sessions with women. And usually when I work with men, it's usually one-on-one. But I just, if you're a human, I'm here for you.
Oh, that's amazing. I just truly love hearing what you're doing, your mission, to help people navigate the grieving process, because it is definitely a process. It's a journey that we all
Absolutely.
go through, but helping them find the tools to get through things, not get over it, because like you said, grief is ongoing. It's not something that we just like, oh, okay, it's done.
Mm,
And we have our valleys, our hills and valleys. So we
right,
have
right.
our times when it feels a little bit more vivid and more,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. So I appreciate what you're doing, and I'm so glad that we were able to have this conversation today.
Me too. Thank you so
Yes.
much for your time. I appreciate you so much and the beautiful messages that you share. So thank you
Thank
for all the
you.
work that you do as well.
Thank you, Meredith. All right, have a good day.
You too. Bye.